Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order this February 17th Board of Commissioners meeting. Thanks for joining us. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Anyone parking for this meeting or using the bus may pick up passes on your way out the door, and it will be valid for today only. Ethics reminder to the board: in accordance with the Code of Ethics adopted by the board, all county commissioners have a duty to obey all applicable laws regarding official actions, to uphold the integrity and independence of the office, to avoid impropriety in the exercise of official duties, to faithfully perform the duties of the office, and to conduct the affairs of the governing board in an open and public manner. Is there any item on the agenda, the outcome of which will have a direct, substantial, and readily identifiable financial impact for any board member? And does any board member have a financial interest in any public contract coming before us today? There being none, all board members have a duty and obligation to vote. We'll move to our consent agenda. Do any members of the public have questions or comments about this evening's consent agenda? All right, there being none, do we have a motion to approve the agenda and consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
Thank you. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, consent agenda approved. We will move forward with our agenda this evening, which brings us to public comment. The time limit for individual comment to the board is 3 minutes. Please state your name before you begin speaking. If your time expires, you may leave any question along with your name, address, and phone number with the county manager. Board members are not expected to comment on any matters during public comment. This is your time to speak to us. All public comments must be directed to the board as a whole, not to individual commissioners, staff, or other audience members. No clapping, snapping, or booing is allowed. The board reserves the right to deny public address on any subject previously presented to the board during the same meeting. We have one person signed up to speak this evening, and it's Kenneth Bucknell. I think, is it Bucknell, Buckner? Buckner, okay. You'll join us at the podium, and you'll have 3 minutes, Kenneth.
Thank you. My name is Kenneth Buckner. I'm a lifelong resident of Western North Carolina. One of the richest kids in the history of the world is to grow up in the Swarnoa Beacon Mill Village in the 60s. This may take 2 meetings, but I'm not going to rush. This is such an important topic to me. If anybody out there finds it not so important to them or lesser than, I'm just here because that's what we do in this country. And the truth is the easiest thing in the world to tell. And I'll be making a lot of other 3-minute town halls, every one I can go into this county, because I have an unresolved issue with the sheriff's department. And I'm just going to sing like a bird. I told them I would, and I'm going to. I'm a solid law enforcement supporter, and so don't feel singled out. But on October 5th, I got off the Swananoa of 2024 after Hurricane Helene, 1 week after Hurricane Helene on a Saturday. I got off the Swananoa exit 59. The light was out there at the Patton Cove exit 59. Lots of traffic already incoming from the west to the recovery center. Harley-Davidson had set up for the recovery center there. A lot going on in the whole Western North Carolina. And with the light out, I said, why not? I used to work cable TV years ago in the 80s and put on a vest to work roadside to keep the cars away from the workers in the lines. So I knew a little bit about it, straight up, clean, sober. I knew I could do it, and I did. I took a vest out behind my truck seat, put it on, went out, and the longest line was obviously coming from the west, to Asheville getting off on Swananoa, power trucks, out-of-state trucks, National Guard, state. You can just imagine. I don't have to tell you. And there was other 2 lanes was coming up from out of Swananoa. They were easier to handle. Keep your head on a swivel. It all went well on October 5th. 5 hours in the heat, and you know how humid it was after Hurricane Helene. And did well. I couldn't sleep that night. I'd done so well getting to work for my community. Went back on the 7th. Took Sunday off. Went back on the 7th on a Monday. Started at 9:30. And Doing good again, man. Them truckers blowing them horns in appreciation. Highway Patrol coming by. Buncombe County Sheriff's coming by. Was doing quite well in a brown Buncombe County Sheriff's Department car pulled up by the curb. They motioned me over. Long story short, Detective Christopher Morrow said that unless you're certified, we can't let you do this. Well, I thought on the way across down the road, it was like you see a coach in a basketball game, a coach and a referee. And they have a very, very rigorous discussion about the call or about the player being ejected or whatever it may be. It's a rigorous discussion. And I told him about my experience, and I told him how important it was. And is that it?
That is your time. If you have your comments in writing, you are welcome to leave them.
No, it's much too important a story to just belittle it with writing.
Okay.
This is a very serious police misconduct story, and I'll be back on the 1st of the month.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Buckner. We didn't have any other folks sign up for public comment, but is there anyone here who didn't sign up who would like to speak? All right, thank you all. Avril, do you have a manager's report this evening?
No.
Report. Okay, thank you. We'll move into our presentations, and Mason Scott is joining us today with an FY 2026 second quarter financial report. Good evening, Mason.
Hello again. I am standing in this afternoon for Melissa Moore, walking you through the fiscal 26 second quarter financial report. So that will be current year financial performance through December 31st, 2025. Today, I will cover our standard interim financials, general fund performance, solid waste fund performance, an update on county capital projects, an investment portfolio overview, and a procurement summary. As a point-in-time reference, we are at 50% of the fiscal calendar for this update. This gives us a good checkpoint to evaluate whether revenues and expenditures are tracking as expected. As usual, I will begin with the general fund budget to actual summary. First, looking at the general fund revenues by type, and starting in the upper right corner of this slide, the amended general fund budget is $438 million. Year-to-date actual revenues total $258.4 million, which is 59% of budget compared to 50% of the fiscal year elapsed. This is ahead of the fiscal year pacing and reflects healthy revenue performance to this point in the year. Next, looking at the chart and moving from left to right, some of the key highlights related to the general fund revenues are ad val taxes stood at $200.7 million collected, which is about 70% of budget. Property tax collections are strong at this point, given their seasonal timing. Sales taxes stood at $16 million collected, which is approximately 32% of the budget. As sales tax collections lag by 3 months, this is actually on pace for the point we'd expect in the fiscal year and slightly ahead in the amount collected during the same period last year. Intergovernmental revenues stood at $20.4 million, tracking at 41%. Sales and services and other revenues are generally on pace with our point in the fiscal year as well. We have not yet recognized or appropriated any of the appropriated fund balance for this year. Again, overall revenue performance in the general fund is healthy at this point and where we'd expect it to be for the fiscal year. Next, we'll review year-to-date expenditures, starting with a view by function. Looking in the upper right-hand corner again, total expenditures through December 31st were $215.3 million, or 49.2% of budget. This is again very close to the 50% benchmark for the second quarter. Total spend by function was public safety, you'll see $51 million, education, $62.3 million, human services at $46.9 million, and general government spend at $32.5 million. Most functional areas that you see here are tracking very closely to that 50% budget expectation. One additional area that I'll point out here is the other financing sources and uses, which currently stands at 83%, and this is due to the timing of transfers during the year. Internal transfers out of the general fund are planned during the budget cycle, and we generally complete them as early in the year as possible, and so we've already done a lot of that work. Overall, we're seeing well-controlled expenditures that are aligned with projections. Next, we'll look at the same expenditures now broken down by category. As seen in the chart, major operating categories are all very close to the 50% benchmark. Salaries and benefits stood at $104 million. Operating expenditures stood at $28.6 million. And program support stood just under $71 million. Capital outlay and debt service at 56% and 20% of budget respectively reflect schedule and timing dependencies. So capital spend follows project movement, and debt payments are made on specific schedules throughout the year. Again, from this lens, we would say spending is stable and consistent with our expectations for this checkpoint in the year. Next, we will review performance for the Solid Waste Fund, which is the county's major business type fund. As seen in the upper right corner of the slide, the amended solid waste budget totals $18.3 million, which includes $4.9 million in appropriated fund balance. Year-to-date revenues at December 31st totaled $7.2 million, or 39% of budget. And looking at the main types of revenues, sales and services, which is the primary, $6.8 million, or 53.6% of budget, ahead of that 50% mark, and other revenue at about $400,000. No fund balance has been used of the appropriation to date. Revenues are slightly below the 50% benchmark, but consistent with operational trends and seasonal patterns for solid waste activity. Next, we'll look at solid waste expenditures by category. Year-to-date expenditures totaled $8.5 million, or 46.2% of budget. By category, salaries and benefits were at $2.3 million, operating at $3.7 million, capital outlay at $1.6 million, debt service at about $500,000, and all transfers have been fully recognized for the year at about $400,000. Capital outlay is higher this year than the last due to equipment purchases occurring earlier in the fiscal year, but overall, again, we would say for the solid waste fund, spending is controlled and appropriate for this point in the year, given seasonality and operating trends. Next, I have a status update on capital project activities. The total life-to-date capital budget is $154.3 million. For active projects, life-to-date actual spend is $68.1 million. Actual spend this year is $8.1 million versus prior year year-to-date spend of $5 million. We are at 44.1% of total capital budget expended life-to-date for this check-in. Future projected capital expenditures are $42.3 million in remaining spend for this fiscal year, $24.5 million expected for next fiscal year, and fiscal years 28 and beyond will be spent against the adopted capital improvement plan. Capital activity has increased compared to the prior year, reflecting project progression and active construction phases. Next, we will look at a summary of the investment portfolio. As of December 31st, 2025, total cash and investments was $382 million. Total investments of that portion were $266.7 million. 69.8, almost 70% of total cash is in active investments. Quarter-to-date income earned was $2.42 million, and fiscal year-to-date income earned was $4.82 million. Average maturities on the top row of this graph remain short in the 45 days or less range, which preserves our liquidity and the safety of our investments. Next, we look at the composition of our investment portfolio. It remains well diversified. Average rate of return across investments for the past 12 months has been 4%, a little over. Investment pools such as North Carolina Investment Pool, North Carolina Capital Management Trust, and NC Class continue delivering competitive returns in the current interest rate environment. Our liquidity remains strong, and investment strategy continues prioritizing safety, then yield, and diversification across multiple investment instruments. And I will close with a summary of procurement activity for the period from October through December 31st. Total purchase orders and contracts were 266 for a total value of $51.5 million. By function, the general government share was $29.6 million. Other funds, including capital grants and the solid waste fund, reflected just under $20 million in obligations, and public safety was around $700,000. Economic and physical development was around $1 million. Cultural and recreational services, $100,000, and health and human services, about $100,000 of activity as well. Procurement activity reflects capital investments, operational purchases, and grant-funded activity during the quarter. Again, this is a summary of just the activity that's occurred in the 3 months we're looking at for this reporting period. In summary, revenues are trending well against the fiscal year benchmark. Expenditures are well controlled and closely aligned with our projections for this point in the year. Capital projects are progressing steadily, so we are on an uptick, moving into our recovery and new projects. Investment income remains strong in the current rate environment, and procurement activity reflects, again, the strong obligation of those activities that are occurring. Do you all have any questions for me?
Thank you, Mason. Commissioners, questions for him?
Yes, thank you, Mason. Just one question. On the solid waste revenue, it looked like it was down just maybe around 7% from last year. Is there anything that we need to be paying attention to with that, or is it just kind of the change because of Helene at that time? And
Helene will be a part of it, and then the nature of that business in general, there can be seasonalities based on activities that are ongoing in the county. So I think halfway through the year, it's not a concern, but it is something that I'm sure Dane and team will continue to monitor along with budget and finance.
okay, thank you.
Other questions? All right, thank you, Mason. We appreciate it. All right, folks, we do have a public hearing this evening to amend our personnel ordinance. And over the past few months, of course, as a Board of Commissioners, we've been reviewing the reporting structures and what those look like in North Carolina counties. And we have uncovered that the best practice in North Carolina it states that the finance director should report to the county manager and not directly to the Board of Commissioners as we are currently structured. The personnel ordinance currently exempts the finance director from hiring provisions and disciplinary provisions. Our proposed ordinance change this evening is to amend the personnel ordinance so that the finance director will report to the county manager and no longer be exempt from the hiring and disciplinary provisions of the personnel ordinance. Again, this does align with statewide best practices. All other counties in North Carolina are structured this way, and it allows us to promote consistency across our management. Are there any questions, comments, discussion before we do open a public hearing? All right, I will open the public hearing at 5:21. Are there any members who wish to speak on this proposed personnel ordinance? There being none, I close the public hearing at 5:21. Commissioners, do we have a motion with no further discussion to approve the revision to the personnel ordinance? Thank you, Commissioner Wells. Do we have a second? Second. Thank you, Commissioner Whitesides. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Personnel ordinance is approved. Thank you all very much. We do have a little bit of new business this evening. We have approval of lottery funds for the North Buncombe High School tennis court replacement. And Heather is joining us. Thank you, Heather.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair Edwards, members of the board, standing in for John Hudson tonight. So this item before you, on May 7th, 2024, your board approved an application of the North Buncombe High School tennis court replacement project totaling $1.5 million to the Department of Public Instruction for funding through the North Carolina Education Lottery Funds. The project was approved in 2 phases, design and construction. So you approved and budgeted the design portion of this project at $65,000 on June 18th, 2024. And the item before you today establishes the construction portion of this budget at the remaining $1,435,000. Any questions?
Are there any questions? If not, do we have a motion to approve the budget amendment?
So moved.
Thank you. All right, Moore and Wells. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Budget amendment passes. And Heather remains with us for another budget amendment to realize FEMA reimbursement revenue.
Yes, so this item during Tropical Storm Helene, partner agencies assisted the county with emergency response activities. Since that emergency response fell under the jurisdiction of Buncombe County, the county was directed to submit those costs through our FEMA public assistance applications. So this also means that the money will come to Buncombe County to be paid to the partners. This budget amendment realizes a total of $1,399,689 to be paid to Buncombe County Schools, Fairview Fire Department, and Henderson County to reimburse them for expenses they incurred.
Are there questions?
Not a question, but it's just always a good opportunity for us to thank our partners for everything that they've done working together through all this. And very excited to see some of this funding starting to come back in so that we can reimburse the partners. And I know that will be much appreciated and helpful to them as well. And with that, I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Wells. And second, Commissioner Horton. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Budget amendment passes. All right, thank you all. And Heather, thank you for joining us this evening. All right, we do have some board appointments to make this evening, and we are going to start with our Strategic Partnership Grant Committee. We had 3 interviews today and fantastic applicants, so we do thank everyone who applied and interviewed today. And we will start with Commissioner Wells. We'll pick 2. Sarah will help us tally those, and go ahead, Commissioner Wells.
And I agree.
They were
three great options. Too bad we can't choose 3. I will select Robert Bing Owens and Charlie Beck.
Beck and Owens for me as well.
Beck and Bostwick, excuse me.
Beck and Bostwick. Beck and Bostwick for me,
Beck and Boss for me.
and Commissioner Horton.
Beck and Owens.
Beck and Owens. All right, so I believe we have Beck and Owens as the selection. Okay, great, thank you. And again, thank you all for joining us for those interviews, and again, to our applicants. And I do think we'll have some additional vacancies in the coming months, so we'll continue to advertise when that time comes. We have 3 appointments for our Health and Human Services Board, along with 3 recommendations. Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve Eli Tilley, Jennifer Henderson, and Mary Long.
Do we have a second? Thank you, Commissioner Wells. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, all 3 are approved. Our Parks, Greenways, and Recreation Advisory Board has 2 reappointments and 2 recommendations. Do we have a motion? Thank you, Commissioner Wells. Do we have a second? Thank you, Commissioner Sloan. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. And the Historic Resources Commission, we do have 1 reappointment. Do we have a motion to approve Bill Roberts?
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Ball, and thank you, Commissioner Whitesides. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Bill Roberts has been reappointed, and we do appreciate all those folks who are willing to continue serving in reappointments. And to our new HHS board members, appreciate them and their interest in serving as new members. All right, board members, are there any updates from boards and commissions that you all serve on that have had meetings recently?
I'll share.
Thanks,
We
Jan.
had our North Carolina Association Board of Directors meeting back, well, on the 6th and 7th in Forsyth County. And we received updates from President Wallace Nelson on his presidential initiative, which is important for us all to know. It's the North Carolina Counties Care. So about having access for everyone. And 3 focuses that they're going to be doing. They're going to be doing some research and policy briefs, and the focus on those, the first one's about impact of hospital closures, especially in our rural areas. The second one is on county expenditures on healthcare in detention centers. And the third, innovations in healthcare. And then what they're going to be doing is they'll have forums in the 3 regions of the state. The first one will be March 27th in Wake, and then there'll be one here in the West, June 18th. We're not sure where that will be in the West, but if you want to get that on your calendar and save it, I'll let you know as soon as I hear where that will be. And then, of course, we did discuss, we had lots of discussion around property tax and kind of those discussions that are going on at the state level as well. And so they're providing updates, and our association's a great resource with that, and they'll continue to send information out to us regarding that.
I would like to take a moment to congratulate Commissioner Wells, who was recently sworn in to serve as a member of the Board of Directors for the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners. Congratulations. Thank you for representing us well. And I'd also like to congratulate Commissioner Horton, who was recently selected by the School of Government to serve in the Advanced Leadership course. Congratulations, Commissioner Horton. We appreciate both of you representing Buncombe County.
I would just give a quick update. This past week, I participated in the point-in-time count through our continuum of care. And the point-in-time count is it's a national requirement for any continuum of care. Typically, it happens in the same week across the country. Ours had to be moved due to inclement weather. But regardless, we had 137 volunteers from across our community step up to go out and have conversations with unhoused members of our community and ask survey questions to help guide where we put resources and how much funding will come into our community. And I was out in Black Mountain, is where I got put for my shift, and had some really awesome neighbors that I was working with and learned a lot. It's a really rewarding experience. I encourage everyone to participate in the point-in-time count next year.
Thank you. Thanks, Drew. Anything else? No?
Y'all get a break from me today?
All right. A couple of announcements. Our next briefing and regular meeting will be held on Thursday, March 5th. This has been rescheduled from Tuesday, March 3rd, due to the primary election on March 3rd. So we will be back on an unusual night, 3 p.m. briefing downstairs, 5 p.m. meeting up here. And Kurt, do we have a need for a closed session tonight?
We do not.
All right. I think this might be a record. If there is no further business, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Thank you, Whitesides and Horton. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you all. I think it might be.